Welcome back to the Explanation Pro. Today I'll recap an Icelandic drama film called Virgin Mountain. Spoilers incoming. An obese Icelandic man, Fusi, continues to live with his mother, despite being in his 40s. His monotonous life starts with a breakfast of cocoa of cereal with milk. When he leaves the house, he does strenuous work involving airline baggage handling as one of the ground staff at a local airport, never taking a day off in his life. Much of his spare time is occupied by his favorite hobby, recreating historical battles using tabletop figurines and assembling them with custom-made sceneries made of wood and clay. To make them look more authentic, he paints each figure by hand. After visiting the model toy shop one day, he meets a young girl, Hera, who has just moved into a new apartment with her recently divorced father. She curiously asks about the monster toy truck he bought, not knowing it is for his enjoyment. As he unlocks the door of his apartment, he is surprised to see his mother and her lover, Rolf, having sexual intercourse, so he decides to play with his truck outside in the snow while Hera sees him. Later at night, while his mother is perming her friend's hair, Fusi steps out to meet his closest friend, Morur, for their weekly tabletop game night. His friend's son wants to participate, but he is prohibited since it is an adult-oriented game. After some time, the two friends unwind with cigars while talking about Fusi's mother and hypnotherapy to suppress bad memories. Fusi comes home, overhearing a small argument between Rolf and his mom. The following day, Rolf talks to him in the middle of breakfast, feeling concerned about spending too much time with war miniatures and not dealing with the real battles of life. He suggests finding a mate online since it is convenient to talk with someone in a chat room. Fusi lingers on this thought as he goes to work. While on his lonesome, his bullish colleagues speak behind his back and insult his appearance. They later taunt and accuse him of being a virgin, though Fusi keeps quiet and tries not to engage them. He is then hit on the back with his ear guards before walking out of the mess hall. Later in the evening, he stops by an Asian restaurant for his weekly dinner of pad thai, though he is pretty sad to see he is eating alone yet again. Afterward, he sits in his car and calls a DJ friend to request a heavy metal song on the radio as he enjoys the nightscape by the riverside. On his 42nd birthday, Rolf and his mother ecstatically surprise him by enrolling him in a Western-themed dance class, presenting him with a cowboy hat. They hope to see him do some other activity than stay home during his free time. They also hope this will encourage him to meet other people since he is an introvert. Later, inside the airport terminal office, Fusi's boss confronts him about the bullying he received the other day, but he denies it to not jeopardize his workmates' careers. Returning home, he sees a sad Hera waiting by the stairs for her father since she is locked out of her apartment. He takes her inside his home and gives her a slice of birthday cake and a glass of milk. Afterward, Hera tinkers around his toy box but is left unsatisfied when she sees none of them are for girls. He then shows her his tabletop display, explaining that he is trying to recreate a World War I fight in Egypt called the Battle of El Alamein, amusing the little girl. Later, her father drops by to pick her up, though he is uncomfortable seeing her spend time with Fusi. The night of the dance class comes, and he gets dressed up in a more presentable manner. However, upon reaching the dance studio, he hesitates walking on the dance floor, mainly seeing elderly people participate in the class. Returning to his car, he calls his DJ friend to request another heavy metal song while a snowstorm begins raging outside. He then sees a woman, Shoven, come out of the studio and ask for help to drive her to her house, to which he obliges. While enjoying the ride, she befriends him after she assures herself he is not a pervert. Feeling grateful for his gesture, she promises to be his dance partner so that he will not get nervous about attending class. He then drops her off safely at her home, feeling unsure about his emotions. The next morning, Fusi is playing a game with Morur when his mother and Rolf ask about the dance, only to be left unsatisfied with his answer. In the locker room of his workplace, the bullish colleagues harass him, dragging him to the showroom to bathe him because he looks dirty. His passive nature prevents him from fighting back, despite the cruel prank. Later, Hera visits to entice Fusi to play with her dolls. In her apartment, she reveals that her father thinks he is a weirdo, much to his disappointment. Later at night, he goes to dancing class, giving it a chance since Shofen will be there. Surprisingly, he does reasonably well following the steps, even though the instructor approaches him to correct his movements. After class, he invites Shofen to have dinner at his favorite Asian restaurant. He confesses that he eats there weekly and recommends a serving of pad thai. The restaurant owner is so pleased to see him on a date that he offers them free side dishes, much to Fusi's surprise. Later, the pair stop at the riverside, where Fusi asks her favorite song, hoping to have his DJ friend play it on the radio to amuse her. He is amazed by her love of country music when she mentions Islands in the Stream by Dolly Parton. During the call, his DJ friend initially feels he is being pranked but gives in to his request when Fusi tells him it is for a woman. As the song plays, she becomes more fond of him. She later offers to let him stay a while at her house 40, but he declines. However, after thinking it over, he parks his truck and rings the doorbell to ask Shofun to come in for milk instead. They chat about each other's lives, with Shofun mentioning her love for gardening since she works at a flower shop, and her zest for travel. Later, Fusi drives back home while smiling and thinking about Shofun. Another day arrives, and Fusi shows off his blowtorching skills preparing the creme brulee of his mother's friend. Later at work, one of the brutish workmates, Elver, asks him to repair his car's engine while apologizing for the awful prank. To make it up to him, he invites him to join in on a party on the weekend, promising to treat him as a VIP guest, while hoping he will not blab about the incident in the showroom. Later in Moore's garage, his friend gives him dating advice. Feeling thrilled he is finally getting out of his shell in the romance department. At home, Fusi continues listening to the Dolly Parton song, liking it because of Shofun. He then convinces himself to go to a travel agency and book a trip to a sunny part of the world. He then tries to visit Shofun at the flower shop, only for the owner to say she will no longer return to work. He goes to her house and discovers she has been working as a garbage collector. Appearing on her doorstep, she rudely shuns him away, but Fusi insists on hearing him out even if she feels upset. He presents her with a travel guide to Egypt, encouraging her to come along. Though she is pleased with the idea of going abroad, she clarifies that she and Fusi should remain friends. He then promises to change the booking for them to sleep in separate rooms. Sometime after, Fusi joins Elver and his friends for a paintball game, followed by heavy drinking at his place. A stripper arrives and dances seductively in front of the men, making Fusi extremely uncomfortable. Elver later pays her an additional fee to be intimate with him, only for Fusi to refuse. This upset Elver to the point that he and his mates forcibly drag him into the bedroom. Fusi has had enough and retaliates, striking the bullies before leaving. After calling in sick for work, he goes for a drive but sees Hira wanting to come along since she is bored. Despite getting ice cream for her, the little girl is left unamused by the scenery and insists on returning home. Once there, her father angrily confronts Fusi for taking his daughter away, accusing him of being a pervert. In spite of his sincere apology, the police intervene and take him to the station to get a statement. He then explains to the detective that it was all a misunderstanding, assuring him that the girl just likes playing around with him and that he is keen on his tabletop war games. Returning to dance class at night, he is disappointed when Shofun does not attend. He later drives to her house and sees that she has stayed inside all day. The next afternoon, while playing with his toy truck in the yard, Hera's friend approaches to try it out, much to his mother's disdain. As he is summoned promptly back inside his home, Hera stares at Fusi, as she is prohibited from going near him. Some time passes, and he becomes increasingly worried about Shofun's well-being. One night, he breaks into her house and sees all the lights are off except the TV, though her clothes are on the bed. She spends the night locked inside a broom closet out of her depression. Fusi decides to sleep there to watch over her, even going so far as cooking her breakfast, feeding her cat, and cleaning her whole house the following morning. He then goes to work, asking his boss to give him some days off. Surprisingly, he does not hesitate since Fusi has earned many days for paid vacations. He returns to Shofun's house and cooks a delicious fried fish recipe to entice her to come out. She then confides about her frustrations not being able to return to work, accepting that she may have already been fired. To solve her problem, Fusi goes to the garbage dump site and offers to take Shofun's shift so the company will keep paying her. Returning to her home with flowers, he opens the closet while Shofun is crying. He hugs her, assuring her that everything will be fine. After bathing and feeding her, he tucks her into her bed to get a good night's sleep. At the garbage plant the next day, Shofun's co-workers notice how good of a job he is doing and invite him for drinks at the local bar while watching the football match. He is relieved when the workers treat him kindly, unlike his colleagues at the airport. Coming back home, Fusi finds his mother sulking in bed while heartbroken about Rolf leaving her while they are starting to get serious in their relationship. He cheers her with a fried fish dinner, much to her amazement. Thinking that he is getting too serious with Shofen, she asks if he will leave her someday, but he insists he is only friends with the woman. Fusi returns to Shofen's house the next morning, only to see her perky and painting the walls of her house while listening to her favorite song. With her depressive phase over, the two of them have dinner. They later stop near an abandoned store that used to be a candy shop. She is hoping to turn it into her new business someday. Some time passes, and Fusi successfully completes the remaining shifts of Shofen at the garbage plant. The co-workers leave him with a parting gift and celebrate with drinks. He later comes home to Shofen, who leaps into his arms and kisses him. They proceed to make love that night. In the morning, Fusi lies dumbfounded while waking up next to Shofen and realizes his true feelings for her. After a rousing dance class, the pair go to a sushi restaurant, where Shofen asks about the Egypt trip, hoping they will go together. She then proposes he move in with her, which delights him, only to say that he will have to wait until his mother approves. Visibly upset, she storms out of the restaurant. Fusi follows her outside and apologizes, admitting he got caught off guard with her proposal. He agrees to move in as they solidify their status as a couple. He returns home and cuts down his tabletop display, much to his mother's dismay, knowing he will leave her after 42 years. The following day, Fusi prepares to move out and leaves a box of toys for Hera to her father. The divorced man apologizes for his behavior and for judging him unfairly, which Fusi accepts. Later, after taking in the rest of the moving boxes, with Mora's help, Shofen anxiously talks to him, admitting she changed her mind and is not ready for him to move in right away. She apologizes profusely for leaving him, which is mostly because of her depression. He sadly looks at Mora as they return his belongings back to the truck. Confused and disheartened by what happened, he returns to his mother's apartment and sits in the dark, thinking about what went wrong. The following cold morning, he returns to his daily routine and monotonous work life. While driving, he stares at the passengers on the airplane walkway, thinking about joining them one day. He then buys the lease for the derelict store and refurbishes the inside, along with Mora. Later in the evening, after some last-minute arrangements, he leaves Shofen a note in her mail slot with the key to the newly renovated store, hoping she will have the zest to transform it into her dream flower shop. The next morning at the airport, Fusi prepares to board his flight to Egypt, taking one last look at the airfield where he used to work. As the airplane takes off, he looks out the window, uttering a sigh of relief and smiling a bit, feeling proud that, for the first time, he has done something better with his life and transformed other lives as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and also subscribe my channel for more videos like this. See you in the next video.